And welcome back, China Daters, for this week's episode. So, comedy. I'm just ad-libbing now. Beijing comedians Donnie Fan and Kei Gambit join us this week and add their comedic lens to relationships and dating in China. They share some stories of their own forays in dating, talk about their comedy styles, and share how being a comedian has impacted their social life in Beijing.
So these two comedians are based in Beijing, but have performed in shows across China in cities such as Wuhan, Changsha, Ningbo, Nanjing, and more. They also have an exciting upcoming project coming up with a major streaming platform where they will produce 6 English comedy headline shows for online distribution. Welcome, Kei and Donnie.
Hello, hello, hello.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Is that your version of like English Putonghua?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
What a great intro. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
I
for
don't know.
joining.
I don't know if it was a good intro. You know what we need?
What do we need?
We need. This is the perfect segue. We need somebody who could give us a real good intro to this episode, who could really sell it. If we had somebody on the show.
If only.
Yeah, if only.
In a world where only 2 comedians showed up to the podcast, then we'd be here. I didn't script this. Just let it happen. Let it happen naturally. Please welcome to the podcast. I usually say stage. Donnie Fan, our resident weirdo. The look he gave me. And Kei Gambit, the most awesome dude who ever existed. Let's go.
That was very PG.
It was PG?
That was super PG.
Fuck you.
There you go. That's
So now we got the 18 rating right there. There you go.
We need a few more fuck shits and buggers on
Yeah.
this show. So go crazy. Yeah. Not straight away. Not on demand.
I was like,
what do you want him to do? You just looked at him like,
He looked at Donnie and went, go crazy. And Donnie's like, what? What do you want me to do?
Dance, monkey, dance.
Newbie. I don't know.
So, okay, to start the show, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, and your relationship status, if you want to get that intimate straight away, and what's, I mean, we've set it up for the comedy, but what do you do here in...
So I'm Donnie Fan. I've been in China since 2015. I'm a writer, director, producer, comedian, anything that's kind of in the artistic foray I try to get involved with.
He doesn't paint, though.
I don't paint. I do a little bit of photography, but it's been a while.
What do you take photos of?
Naked ladies, usually.
Oh, wow.
he nodded and wow, genuinely.
All right. I wasn't expecting that.
Already shocking.
Yeah,
Ooh.
wow. And when do you tell them you're taking the photographs?
Usually after the... No, I can't say that. I was going to make it... No, I can't say that.
I've been a nude model in mainland and in Hong Kong before as well. So I
know that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh,
I
have
didn't
you
know.
also done shibari before? That's with the ropes.
That's not all. No.
Oh, like
no.
some people
That
do
sounded
photographs
racist
with-
To me.
oh.
But like it's not. I've never done a tribal like cultural appropriation before. Oh, that's the rope thing.
It's the rope thing.
No, I stay away from like the bee and tie. I stay away
Okay.
from. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's
Not
just,
your thing.
It's not my thing. Yeah.
Okay, fair
so
enough.
I've never been strung up on ropes. I've never strung people up on ropes, except for when I was like 15 and in a closet. But that was.
Oh, darn. Whoa.
No shits and boogers, but suicide, lots of it.
It got serious,
no,
real
I'm kidding.
deep.
I'm kidding. I guess.
Wow, that's...
I scared you guys.
What a roller coaster.
You're supposed to be talking about your fucking jobs, man.
This is
Okay,
the first
so-
5 minutes. Oh my
Damn.
god.
We can... I say I'm going to edit this, but it's all staying in. So I interrupted at photographs, and then you said you would kind of carry on and say more.
Yeah. So oh god. So great speaking, great English. You guys have been here long enough to realize like your English is shit now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
I
just
can't
forget.
speak.
Yeah.
So I do all I try to do like involve myself in as much of the arts as I can. But I primarily write. Before comedy, I did a big theater production last year called Medea. that was at Theater 77. I was the director and the primary screenwriter of that. And my status, I'm single and
Ready to mingle.
I wish. That's the thing. We're gonna talk about dating a little bit later. I'm single and I'm frustrated and it's a struggle, but I don't really see a good end to it. I'm probably single and unavailable, but not because I want to be, but kind of have to be.
Ooh,
For the artistic suffering to
Yes,
get,
absolutely.
Why not? Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My whole life is a dedication to emo. I was born in 1990 and I grew up doing the whole emo phase and I never let that go. So as long as I keep that pain on my heart on my sleeves, I get to produce good content.
that makes sense though. It's what inspires you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I was in a relationship, I've thought about this. I've like preeminently written content for jokes of like if I was in a relationship,
Ooh.
what kind of jokes would I write? And they're terrible. They're just not good at all. So it's like, the bad dating is what people want to hear.
Isn't that a thing that some comedians have talked about? Like once they're in a relationship and too happy, like it feels like all the funny, interesting things, or is that kind of a cliche?
No,
Do you feel like it's true?
I think it's true. And then the comedians are like, oh, fuck, I had like 3 years where I don't know what to do. And then they have a kid, and then they've got like a lifelong, list of content. Like Jim Gaffigan, he keeps having kids. He's had like 9 kids so that he can just keep writing jokes.
Kev Hart did it.
And that's
too.
true. Well, he cheats, so that's,
More content.
more
It's
content,
okay.
exactly.
There you
Yeah, just wait 9 months. Excellent.
Nice.
So, guest number 2. Hello, sir.
All right, hello. I'm Kei Gambit.
Top naked modeling.
I've never done topless naked modeling. I am a voice actor. I'm a writer and a comedian. And in my heyday, I was a musician. Now I just do it for fun. At the moment, I'm mostly doing comedy and voice acting. I do a lot of the major movies in China.
Our TV screen was on and an
Yeah.
ad popped up and he was like, hey, I was in that movie.
Yeah, and Moon Man popped up, and I'm like, hey, I did that movie. That happens to me.
He was the moon.
I was not the moon. I was not the moon. I was not the moon. That'd be great, though. It's like the Teletubbies where they have the sun
The baby.
is a baby. I'd be like, I'm the moon. I know the idiot. Yeah, I never did the moon. I did a human character. I'm also a writer. I have a novel coming out
Ooh,
next week.
excellent.
yeah.
Wow, tell us about that.
It's a alternate history drama thriller.
Where Hitler won.
No. It's based on the Civil War. It's called We Angry Few, and it'll be on Amazon and other platforms like that. But yeah, it's a wild ride.
Wow, I need to pick your brains on that because recently we've discovered. We
Civil
were doing
War.
some research into erotica,
Oh, nice.
and we discovered just
I used
how
to
much
date her.
we discovered how much money is made for erotic literature. It's insane.
We have both dubbed werewolf porn.
We've both done
No.
werewolf porn. Yeah.
Yes, we both
That
dubbed
is so
werewolf
mental,
porn.
man.
Today on LinkedIn, I saw an advert for werewolf and
man.
romance novel writers. An advert. One
Yeah,
of them
I'm
in
doing
Beijing.
it right now.
I quit.
Right now,
I
could
couldn't
like
do it.
share a paragraph. Yeah, if
I
you
have-
guys wanted
Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah. Can you do a reading later?
He's,
Oh my.
he's still doing it. I got genuine PTSD from it.
What was it? Why?
Why?
I mean,
Because
I played a character. He was in his 40s, fully tattered up. He's the werewolf lord, right? He's the
Okay.
leader. He's a billionaire who is an entrepreneur.
always billionaires.
I'm not
Always.
familiar with the werewolf
Always.
hierarchy.
I love the
in-
tropes
It's like
of
the-
them.
it's
There's
like the
alpha,
50
omega.
Yeah, it's like the 50 Shades of
there's
Grey
betas.
nonsense.
Okay.
There's
So,
the alpha
yeah.
king. The alpha king's like the king of the alphas.
Yeah. So I was basically Dorian Gray. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so you were
I was
werewolf
basically Dorian Gray if he was a werewolf, right?
Okay,
but
gotcha.
fully tattered up, and he he gets involved with a 14-year-old
No.
alpha werewolf child, and
Is it like a Twilight thing where they imprint on each other?
creepy.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, no, like they straight. He murders a bunch of people because they walk in on his girlfriend, who, by the way, is underage.
Yeah.
she's naked when they walk in and they see her naked. He murders them all.
But the
And
bullshit-
then, no, the bullshit is the next week they have a ritual where everyone gets naked and does a werewolf run through the forest. He's like, dude, you just murdered a bunch of people for seeing your girlfriend naked, and then the next week you're like, all right, get naked in front of everyone,
Everybody
let's
gets
go and
to see
run.
her.
Like, choose your lane, bro.
Every
Yeah.
time the werewolves change, they get naked. So they'll be like wearing
they're gonna
like a
see each
suit
other
and
naked
tux,
either way.
and then they turn for whatever, and then whenever they come out, they're all naked. And then the dialogue is literally every single time that happens, the dialogue is like, I had to hide my shame from his eyes.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's like bitch. You just showed everyone your tits. All they had to do was look.
It sounds terrible. It sounds terrible.
And every single book is exactly the same.
Excellent.
Same story.
It sounds terrible. The dialogue is so poor.
I'm sorry for
and
saying
it's
tits,
a
by the
lot-
way.
it's-
No,
They're,
it's fine.
Very derogative.
they're all
I meant breasts.
like ESL writers. Nobody's a native English speaker writing these stories, which is why I wanted to
No,
start
they
writing
are.
one.
They are.
And they're not.
They're 30-year-old
not.
virgin.
No, they're
virgins from fucking
they're not
America
native
have
English
never
speakers.
seen it.
They don't know how to write. They're not native English speakers.
terrible.
But I've done this on stage once. But this is true. Like, it is so bad. And I remember the first book I was working on, and I was reading, and she's just like, I love him, I love him, I love him. Like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then I'm just like, I'm just recording. So we just record for the male parts.
Yeah.
We don't record for the female parts.
Yeah.
So
We
we
have a
don't
counter-
know what's
counter actor
happening.
or
Oh,
something like
There
okay.
will be like big like planks and like spaces between like what's going on. And my character at one point was like, you know, darling, I love you so much. And then it ended. And I was like, oh God, I'm so tired of this. And I got like 8 pages later before I speak again. And I'm like, darling, don't jump out the window. You can't. What do you need me to do?
Wow.
So you have a choice at that point.
Escalated.
You
What
have a
happened?
choice. Either go back and read this terrible script to see where you are at the moment, or just say fuck it and just keep reading.
It's
Oh,
so
I
bad,
see.
but I gotta tell you, I was like, why the fuck is she about to jump out the window?
Yeah.
You're
So
invested.
I went back. I hated
did
it
the
so
read.
much, but I saw it and I'm like, I gotta go back, and I'm just reading, and it's just like
Just
all
need to
really
know.
pathetic poetry that this woman, like
my
girls
God.
writing. And I'm like, where did this come from? She's a poet, and I went back to chapter 1 and I read the entire fucking story.
Oh my God,
and
man.
I was hooked.
You
I was
oh my
hooked,
God.
and I was like, oh my God, Twilight, I get it.
I have PTSD just from reading my parts. I would never go back. Oh my god! But yeah, anyway, go and buy We Angry Few, please.
Okay.
The Kei Gambit werewolf porn
It's
novel.
not werewolf porn.
We're gonna
trust
hear
me.
some of that later. That sounds
Excellent.
very exciting.
Yeah, and I like how like that you mentioned you made an emphasis on like they get naked, as in like there's none of this like they all obviously they don't just shop at Uniqlo. They have some nice clothes
Yeah.
where they don't want to get it ruined, and they're like, no, I'll just fold them neatly over there. And
Oh
then,
no, those things
I
get thrown
learn
up.
brand names when I do this stuff like that I've never heard of. There's
Oh.
just like car names. That,
Mine
like,
never
I'll be-
had brand names in
forced
it.
to read. All the time it happens, and I'm like, what is this thing? And I Google it, and it's
I had
just
car
like
names in
billionaire
mine.
clothing.
Yeah, I like Bentley and Rolls Royce
But
mentioned
everything
in
is
mine,
like,
but
oh, he showed up in his Maserati, and like
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah,
just
mine had a
it's
Maserati in it
yeah,
as well.
And they all have Maseratis,
it's the same. I swear to God, it's the same.
but
like
they run faster
like
than the
book club.
Maserati. Did I say Maserati? They run faster than the fucking cars.
It's a bunch
so
of
it's
women
not
who
fair.
just fantasize about like fucking a werewolf. They've seen True Blood one too many times, and they're like, "Damn, I really want to fuck a werewolf."
This
let me
is
write
great. This
let me
is a
write a
whole
shit
podcast
story
about
about it.
werewolf.
I know. We need to change the title of this podcast to
yeah.
Werewolf
Should we move on to the next
Pornography.
thing?
I don't know what the next thing is. My mind has gone blank. My mind has gone blank.
I'm getting
We are
I'm getting
best.
shell shock reminders
I love
of
it.
this stuff.
And
man.
we're all on our first drink too, so
Oh, God.
it's just gonna descend into chaos.
First drink. Speak for yourself.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Fair
It's,
enough. Let's tie it to dating in China now.
Yeah. That's the topic we came here for.
okay. Oh yeah. The next thing.
Yes.
It's so we have this thing. Finish this sentence.
All right.
Dating in China is like.
Go on, Donnie Fan. Oh, you want me to do it?
You're already talking.
Oh, fair. Dating in China is like trying to find a good restaurant and never being able to find it.
That's so sad.
Eternal torture.
You should
Yeah.
say it's like trying to find.
It's
a good
rarely
restaurant
you're rarely able
and
to
never
find
being
it.
able to find.
Sometimes you'll find a gem, you know, by accident, you'll be like, oh, what's this place? And you're like, oh, this place is dope. But, usually you're like, oh, this place looks good, but then it turns out the food is poisoned.
Okay, wow. You've been to some bad restaurants.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yes, sure.
God, dating in China is like, I have pressure to be funny. It's not going to be funny. It's just going to be sad. Dating in China...
Well, you have to answer.
It's like the rope that was in my closet when I was
Jesus
15.
Christ. Let's go back to that. We're going back to that, are we? Back to the locker room. We had a rope around his neck made of paper because he couldn't afford a rope.
No, do I have to keep it in that sentence? Do I have to finish those, or can I just modify the like?
That's the question.
Okay.
You can expand it.
You can expand.
No, don't let him off. I answer the question.
Dating in China is like when you arrive in a country where everybody's just like, oh, everybody's gonna love you, and nobody loves you.
Except for the people on the subway who stare at you.
That was
all the time.
also a sad answer.
I have no answer. I have no
Shoot,
answer.
first.
Dating in China, I am very cynical about it, and I have very few optimism about my dating forays. And
You've had some good experiences. Well, I guess we'll get into them
I
later.
have good experiences for comedy. I don't really necessarily have good experiences. I've really struggled in the dating field.
That's fair, though. I appreciate your honesty. I think a lot of people who have come on our show have said it is fucking hard dating in China, and it's not always happy.
If I'm honest, I always tell people, I always preface it with but I came to China in 2015. I was 25 years old, and my understanding of how adults date and what it is not the same. And I'm pretty sure from how I understand how it is in America, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, which is that it's just fucked. You can't meet people. You can't go up to people. You can't go to a cafe and say, I'm a writer. I can't go into a cafe and see somebody and be like, what book are you reading? Because they just say, get the fuck out. And I thought that was a thing that happened here. And no, that happens in America too now. And that happens in Canada too now. That people, not even that. You can't even ask somebody what book they're reading. You have to actually go over their shoulder and see what's on their Kindle. And that's weird and awkward. So
I agree, and I also find this trend in dating apps. I find dating apps to be toxic as hell. I find them a bad idea.
They're awful.
They're awful. I think they mostly push down mostly men. They don't work in our favor at all.
I'd say that they're not good for anyone.
I don't think they're good for anyone. And the women who succeed in finding a date from them probably are not finding the best men.
You guys almost certainly met on dating apps, and we're just crushing your
No.
If you did, much respect.
We're awkwardly
Yeah, they're like, fucking hell, do we tell them now that we met on Tinder? Or we tell them later?
Yeah. So next question. No. We didn't. We met in the IRL. I'm trying to be
IRL?
Yeah.
In
real
real
life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure you're making a
That's what
gaming
people
thing.
on dating apps say
It's not
when
like
they
a
don't want to
terrorist
tell people
cell.
they met.
We met in IRL.
You didn't say we met at a party, we met at work. You just
We
said
met IRL.
Yeah.
You mean we met in?
You talked on
we
dating
physically
apps, and
met.
then you
We
met.
physically met. We physically met.
Yeah.
well, that
on
sounds a
World
little
of
bit
Warcraft.
But yeah, the whole dating apps. I mean, a lot of people struggle with those, and especially filtering through the different types, because a lot of people complain that they see the same type of people, the same people on different ones, and then also because of the pandemic in the last 3 years, that there's no new blood, there's no new people.
New blood.
There's coming on these
There's no new blood.
Yeah, there you go. We'll cut that in as well.
So it makes it incestuous, the Tinder pool specifically. And I'm sure they're all the same. Just feels very incestuous. I remember my first time going out in China post-pandemic was when I went to Spicy Festival, and that was Spicy Festival 2020.
I remember that.
And I was on a date, and while I was there, I actually saw a girl who I used to date that I met on Tinder from 3 years ago, and I haven't seen her in so long. And I was like, oh, hey, and I waved to her, and she was with the guy that she rejected me for. So she
That
was
she
like,
also met on
Wow.
Tinder.
that she also, yeah, so she was dating both of us at the same time. I
It's like a
didn't know.
rotisserie.
And then
Wow.
I only knew when she was like, oh, I'm choosing the other guy. And I'm like, I didn't know there was another guy.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was fucked. But I was happy to see her. Like, I don't hold grudges against people. So I saw her, I was like, hey, how's it going? And the guy she was with,
I mean, in my defense, I was better than him, Like, she chose, she chose right.
So I think she looks at the guy and she just like kind of like was like, oh hey, and they turn around and he's like, oh, who's he? And she's like, oh,
That's the last
I
guy.
met him at another one of these festivals a while ago. And I told the person, and he was like, oh, okay. And they walked away. And I told the person, I was like, oh, that's weird. We used to date. We like met on Tinder. And like I knew about him, but he didn't know about me. And the girl that I was with was like really upset that I met her on Tinder as well. And that
though
was
she
our
met
last
you on
date.
Tinder.
Yeah. It was like, well, what's going on?
She was upset that you rumbled her. And
Yeah, so I just should lie.
yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like Tinder people, they just lie about everything, and I
Yeah.
should just lie, but I don't want to lie.
I mean,
so.
some people find it quite embarrassing. I don't know why, because I met people on dating apps before. I don't think there's stigma there. Like, I think maybe 10 years ago there was like,
Yeah.
oh, let's lie about how we met. Ha ha ha.
It's the only way to meet now.
I don't think
I don't think you need to-
this stigma is a bit unattached, but I think Tinder, like, or any of these things, they feel like the 1 minute dating. What do they call it?
Speed dating?
Speed date. It feels like a
Yeah.
speed date that you go
Yeah.
on a date
I
with a
think
girl.
towards speed dating.
If you don't do the deed in the first date and it's done, you move on to the next one. She's moved on to the next one too. If you do the deed, even then, probably moving on to the next one right afterwards.
Yeah.
It's just a shuffling game. It feels like speed dating.
It's just nobody gives each other the chance to really get to know each other.
Yeah, but you also, it's hard to give someone the chance because you know they're on Tinder too, and how many people have they just speed dated before you, and are they going to drop you like a hat?
He says speed
Again.
dating really refers to like what happens in the bedroom.
No. Sometimes, no.
Hey, we
yeah.
all get tired sometimes. Okay?
Yeah. But that's what app dating feels like to me. It feels like just in-person speed dating.
So do you feel like it's easier than to meet people offline, or you
it's
prefer
way
to meet
easier.
people offline?
I prefer to meet people as Nathan says, IRL.
Yeah.
I would absolutely prefer to, but it's like I feel like
You have to have the right situation and the right.
Right. I know you mentioned like it's hard to find the right way to approach. I even told this to you, Nathan, the other day. So like I was in a park going for a walk and a guy came up to me and he was like, "Hi, nice to meet you." Like,
it's weird.
yes. Okay.
so
Thank
weird.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
That's a little bit odd.
I told Nathan later, I was like, I mean, like, first of all, I'm in a relationship. I wasn't looking for anything. But maybe in his mind, he was thinking, I'm in a park. Like, maybe I'll just shoot my shot and approach somebody.
Hey, did he shoot? Did he shoot his shot?
No, he was very.
If he shot his shot,
He
you
was
should
very-
call
Get
the cops.
arrested.
It's like,
He should get
goddamn,
arrested.
that's illegal.
Oh, he was a little creepy though, because like I was just in a park by myself and I was like listening to a podcast and just in the zone. I was like, sorry, nice to meet you, but like I'm gonna go this way. And I like walked away and I was like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But he was like standing there waiting for me, like seeing if I was gonna come back again. I saw him just like
Did
watching
he really
me.
come back again? What was he thinking?
That changed from shooting his shot to now like preempted murder.
Exactly, thank you.
He's like, don't worry. She's gonna regret saying no to me. She's gonna come right back.
There's a Jason Statham on steroids.
I bet he was still there the next morning, like, she'll be back any minute now.
Just playing the waiting game.
Just the waiting.
I was just thinking, no, he didn't seem nefarious with his intentions. I think maybe in his mind he was
They
just
all
like,
don't. They don't.
I could just meet somebody, because other people have told us so. It is really hard to meet somebody, and how do you approach somebody? How do you talk to somebody without it being strange or weird? The right setting, and it's not like always QS at 4 a.m.
Well,
That seems to be the
now
most.
I know more about you.
QS, goddamn.
I when I was my first like girl that I like actually dated, I was like 16 years old, and we met at
Stop
a
playing footsie with me, by the way. For anyone, none of you can see this. He's touching my foot with his foot. It's weird.
There's a lot of rubbing
I'm not
going on.
dating you.
So I met
Again?
this girl at a All American Rejects from First to Last concert in Bridgeport, Connecticut in 2006. And,
Did you ever go to Warped Tour?
All
You
the
know
time.
about
I
it.
always
Okay,
wanted
okay. I was
to.
trying to tell Nate. I was trying to tell you
They
about
all
Warped
have the
Tour.
Warped Tour. They go to England.
I always wanted to. I went to download it, but I don't like festivals.
Yeah,
I find them
know.
dirty, and you
I've
have
got
to.
some friends who went to download. Yeah.
I went to download. So you have to stay dirty, and you have to stay in a tent if you want to see the other favorite band. And festivals, not for me.
Anyway, so you met a girl.
I met this girl. This is the first girl that I ever dated. We didn't do anything. It was like hold hands kind of dating. But like I met this girl and I just like after the show, she was wearing a really cool shirt. Her shirt was customized. My shirt was also customized. We both
bedazzled.
made it like for this specific show. And I was like, that's amazing. That's so cool. And she felt the same way. And we just talked. And then that was it. And that hasn't happened in 20 years because, like, if you do that at any point, it feels like, unless you're wasted at a place like QS at 4 a.m, people take that very, very uncomfortably. And it's weird for me because I'm a writer and I grew up reading nothing but, like, pathetic, sad literature of, like, unrequited romance and boys or girls who are in
meet
love with somebody they
cutes
can't
and-
get to. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And they're just trying, like, you know, to like show their heart, like say anything, like, you know, radio boombox above your head, where culture now tells us that that's like the worst thing you can do. It's creepy. Like the girl said no, move on. She's not interested in you. And yet women want to be courted. Not all women, of course, want to be courted, and not all women want to be courted by myself. No women want to be courted by myself, but if a woman theoretically were to, the culture, I feel like, tells us right now, we're not supposed to. Because if you do, and they ultimately do say no, you're creepy. If you are in any sort of position of artistic power or financial power, and you do, it's considered like imprinting yourself, not imprinting, what's the word I'm looking for? Grooming. It's like a kind of form of like grooming that you're doing, and I'm just very conscious of this, that I like watch, you know, the news and stuff that happens, and I just sit like really cynical, and it's like I can't actually meet a girl that I feel like, I really gotta pursue, as they say in China, like 追她, like pursue or chase somebody. That sounds so weird.
I
like
feel
chasing somebody.
I
but
feel like I go against the grain on that one. I find it very easy to talk to strangers.
that's not true. Strangers talk to him, and he just says yes.
Well, no, I have no problem introducing myself to a stranger, female or male. I have a girlfriend, to be clear, and I've met many.
Oh yeah, we didn't get your relationship
I
status
have a
earlier.
girlfriend. We've been together for over a year, but I've met many female friends along the way, and male friends. I have no problem introducing myself. I know that what he's talking about is true. It can be awkward to introduce yourself on a stranger, especially if you're a man talking to a woman that doesn't know you. But I think I'm like such an extrovert, and I'm comfortable talking to people that I don't know. I think people get that from me, and they don't find me a threat, hopefully. I just want to be friendly with everyone, you know. If someone gives me the vibe that they're creeped out by me, then of course I'm out of that situation. But usually I'm cool talking to strangers. It doesn't bother me at all. And usually I'll make a friend.
So that's different though, because that's stranger. I'm talking about like people you're specifically trying to.
Yeah, even in the past when I was single, I'm more than happy to approach a woman and offer courtship.
Why not a man?
Never sucked a dick before. Doesn't seem appeasing to me. No
Fair
problem
enough,
with people
fair
who
enough.
do. It's not my thing.
Do you feel like you had?
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, I never found a problem with that. I found it more difficult in England because I didn't have a social group. It was just the people I worked with. And after you've dated everyone you work with, then the ones who are willing, you know, then you're kind of out of options. But like
Then you're like, well, it's got to be the boss.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it was. Yeah, in Beijing, I honestly never came across a problem. For me, it's more I don't really
That's
want
called
to.
white privilege.
I'm not white, by the way. I'm mixed race. But yeah, for me, it was I'm always so busy with my projects, and I have a lot of things that I want to do. that don't relate to relationships kind of makes me a bad suitor for a relationship, actually, because I've so many things that I want to do, and I've on my list of things to do: the books, the comics, the comedy, and the music. And then a relationship on top of that just makes everything really difficult. I find relationships to be the hardest thing. I find getting them to be easy. Maintaining them very difficult.
Well, yeah. Well, maintaining, it's a lot more work and time and commitment.
When I'm single, I could be not single the next week if I wanted to. It's just I can't.
That's called bragging.
No, it's not bragging. I'm the opposite.
That just makes me feel really insecure about myself.
It makes me probably even in a worse situation, because now there's two people in a less than optimum position, because I don't have time for this person and they want time, and I've projected that I would have time and I would do that. So now no one's happy there. But I get lonely when I'm by myself for too long, because I'm happy to make my man cave and stay in there for weeks.
It's like he's a cat man and not like a dog.
That's why I have cats. Yeah. So I have to balance my life with all of these things together. It's also really, really difficult.
So I mean, you both talked about the like the struggles, the creativity, and then also different sharing different reasons why it can be difficult, or dating or love can be difficult. But there is this perception that, well, if people see you on stage and they're like, wow, that's a funny set, that looks like a funny guy, does that not make it easier? The whole I'm a funny person.
Donnie's got that one.
Do you have something else to finish that with?
No,
I'll be straight, because I'm going to be really quick. I've never dated a crowd member.
You don't have chuckle fuckers?
Where did you meet your girlfriend?
She wasn't there to see me. I met my girlfriend before she'd even seen me on stage.
Can I tell the story?
Probably just answer your question. I was gonna be quick with that.
No, I want to tell his story, and if he doesn't like it, you can cut it out.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. We had a show at Aurora in October 2021. And he showed up with a girl.
I was there with another woman.
He showed up with a girl. And that girl, this woman was insane. I have no idea why he was with her. And it was like their third date. I met her on the first date, and she was just an insane woman.
She was into some weird stuff.
The first date, and all she was doing was asking me, can you tell me Kei's dating history, his sex history? Does he have sex with a lot of women? I
found that out later.
She was asking me all this stuff. And it was super. No, I told you that when she told me that.
Oh, I don't remember. I was probably drinking.
He was drinking, and so we show up at Aurora for the club show, and he comes up to me as soon as the show finishes, and he goes, "I really like that girl. You have to make this girl go away."
So I met my girlfriend in the bathroom, right?
Yes.
So, I met her downstairs. I went to the bathroom downstairs, and she had wild hair, like she'd just taken out hair bands. And all I said was, "I like your hair," and she went, "Oh, thank you." And I went, "Can I get your WeChat?" And she went, "Sure." And then,
so she wasn't a crowd member. She was a fellow urinal user.
She was there for work. She was there with a client. She wasn't there to see the comedy show.
What, in the bathroom?
No, not in the bathroom. Yeah, yes, the glory hole was waiting.
That's how you get WeChat contact. So
Wow.
you know.
No, but
If the number was on the bathroom stall, then you didn't need to ask for it.
She said her name was Trixie.
He met her while she was writing the number on the stall.
She was washing her hands.
I don't mean to be rude. It just you set yourself up for that one. I'm sorry.
But yeah.
So I had to go to this girl that he was with, and she was like, "Kei wants to fuck that bitch," and I was like, "No."
I had to get him to get her out.
No, he's drunk and he needs some space. You guys have been together a lot recently. He's gonna call you tomorrow, I promise. And I felt so bad saying that because I knew he wasn't gonna call her.
Well,
but I told her
I set you up as friend duty.
I said
I was a gentleman, and I did call her the next day and to cut it off.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And then she started calling me.
Yeah, that was.
It was really uncomfortable.
To ask about why.
Well, she was really mad that I cut it off.
This girl was
Insane.
really possessive. They had only met like 3 times.
Yeah.
Very possessive.
I seem to attract the insane. I've had a knife pulled out on me before. I've had
What?
nothing to do with me either. I just attract
Here in
the
Beijing?
insane.
Somebody pulling a knife on
like
you.
three different people have pulled. I've drawn.
You should be careful. At this point, you should be careful.
Yeah, the
name
odds are
names.
not in your favor,
I'm not going to
sir.
name names, but there was one. Nothing ever happened with us. But she came to my house. We watched the movie. This is our first date, and then she just decided to write me a hate letter.
Yeah.
In blood.
Not in blood. Thank
Okay.
God, not in
Period.
Jesus
Oh, God.
Christ. No, yeah.
Oh,
I kept that letter for a while because I thought it was the funniest
Like
thing. It was 2
like
pages
brown
long.
stain. It was gross.
It was 2 pages long about how I should go. You know when you got called a sex pat?
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing. She wrote a 2-page letter and left it in my house about how I'm a sex pat and I should go back home.
Did she write it while she was at yours, or she pre-wrote it?
No, she pre-wrote it and
Okay,
left
and then
it
left
there
it.
and then
Yeah.
left again.
I like that. I don't know if you know baseball. There's a baseball player called Derek Jeter who apparently like leaves gift baskets to like his one night stands.
It's
and
like
they're just
Drake.
like full of
Oh.
like they like got like Rolex watches and stuff in them and all this other stuff and like a nice letter about how much he appreciated their day. I think it's really funny that this is like the Chinese Derek Jeter. Like she
Yeah.
just sleeps with foreigners and then she has
and then
these
leaves hate letters. Yeah. She's probably she prints them out like she's got 100 of them just
Oh,
waiting to go.
you're not unique.
She just drops them on the floor as she leaves.
She slept with 150 foreigners and she's doing it like in the name of like,
No, I never
protecting
slept with her.
country.
That's the thing. I never slept with her.
Wow.
Maybe she's mad you didn't sleep with her.
I didn't even touch her.
That's why she was
mean.
mad.
That's
That-
really
yeah.
mean.
No,
Like,
she-
you know, she came over. She was like, "Hey, Kei," and you're like, "I'm not gonna touch you." Like, no wonder she was mad.
Yeah, man. It's
It's rude.
I've had some very odd experiences here that I didn't have in England.
Well, to get to the stage point, I don't very often go out with people that I've met at comedy shows. I talk to everybody, but kind of the goal is to get them to buy more tickets. So if I'm like the guy, like 2 years ago, it was a little bit different. I think 2 years ago, I did try to like pursue probably more people. But now, like the goal as the producer of the comedy shows is like, oh, you had a great time, great. I need you to come back.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the directions I take it. But on occasion, I have like gone out to dinner with people. And like the thing that they almost always say when we go out for like the first dinner, they're like, oh, you're nothing like you are on stage. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, on stage, you're really confident.
Is that an insult?
Yeah,
Or-
I think so. They're like, you just seem so like quiet and shy. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to get to know you on stage. I'm just, talking about bad dates. I'm trying to not let this become a bad date. And then they find me like very different, and I am different. I think I'm authentic on stage, but it's just
But
one
that's your
side.
space to be open and yeah.
One side of
Do you
it.
think people expect you to just always be on all the time too? Like
I
the
get that.
thing is like as a comedian, like, hi, tell me a
Yeah,
joke or
I
be
get
funny
that.
all the time.
I hate that. I get that.
I am that way. I am on all the time, but in dating, like, so pre-comedy, who I am is as a comedian, like this kind of like the
Yeah.
snapping, constant like sarcasm and stuff. Like I'm from New York. Like I spent so much of my life in New York City, so like that sarcasm is just there for any comment somebody says. I'm always there with something, and that grows old for people who are not used to it, like really, really fast. And it grows old for people who are used to it. And so I know when I meet somebody for the first time or we go out to have like a nice dinner, I should not do that. When they're like, oh, it's great to meet you, I shouldn't be like, oh, I'm not happy to see you. Like I shouldn't do that, even though I kind of want to, just to see what they say. It's just what I do. I push buttons. I'm a button pusher.
Yeah.
But only in daylight. And all right, never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Are we
No,
going?
yeah.
Are we going into werewolf porn again?
I
Or was that a
might
werewolf
have
joke?
been.
Okay.
But it's so it's weird that like I do want to project something that attracts women to me, and if somebody's attracted to me like from what they see on stage, like that's great. Like, wow, I feel honored to have that. but then also it's like, oh well, there's so much more that happens like that goes on in here, in the mind and in the heart, and so it's like a weird balance of trying when you have this persona and somebody recognizes you from a persona that is just a part of you. They do a lot of projecting, I think, and then you're in this place where it's like, oh, I want to be authentically me, but what they're attracted to is a little bit superficial, and then that's like a weird balance to kind of meet.
A lot of people mistake. They'll see our shows and stuff, and they'll have this weird dynamic where they think that we also know them because they've been at a few shows. I've been out a few times.
For example, they think he killed a black guy in an ambulance. That's his stage persona.
What's that in reference to? I have no idea about that. What happened?
Justin, you should hit Justin with an ambulance.
Oh, Justin, yeah.
You even forgot about it.
I never killed it. It's one of my jokes, but yeah, it's
Yeah, I think we need some context quickly.
Well, I have a joke about someone I worked with in LA, and he's a bit of a lovely dude, bit of a moron, but big and intimidating. And he asked me the most manly question, not like, oh, what do you lift in the gym? No. Men don't really talk about that kind of thing. He said, what? I'm gonna ask all of you this question. This is what he asked me. He said, if you had to get hit by a vehicle going full speed, what vehicle would you choose to get hit by?
That is such a guy question.
Such a guy question. Women are like, why the fuck would you ask that? That's so stupid.
Because it's not even like what car would you drive? It's like, what car do you want to get hit by?
Yeah, you have to get hit by a vehicle getting full speed. What's it gonna be?
So this guy said,
oh no, I want to hear you two.
A remote control car.
There you go.
But
that's not
that's the way you play the game.
Yeah, but that's how you play the game. Remote control car, it's gonna hurt your ankle a little bit. What do you think?
I wouldn't even know what to say. Like,
exactly, it's such a guy question.
Do I want to die quickly, I guess? I don't know.
No, the point is to not die. Yeah, the point is
you don't have to die.
Oh.
I said, I'll tell you what I said.
Tell me what you said.
I said a golf cart.
I say hoverboard.
Oh.
I mean, you're going to swept under it. It's
or
going to
chopped
bounce
in
your head
half
off the,
if it
off
goes
the ground.
fast.
A golf cart is, I'll bounce off it, but it's not going to kill
the
me.
real hoverboards only go this high off the
or
ground.
a milk float.
A milk cart?
Milk cart,
yeah, from England, a milk cart.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good
I think
one.
you'd probably survive a tuk-tuk.
You guys have milk carts still?
Yeah, we have milk. No,
Yeah.
probably not now, but back in the 90s and 2000s.
In Yorkshire, we do.
Is a milk cart just
Yeah,
like
well,
a
I'm
go-kart?
from Liverpool. We're not too far apart.
Yeah,
What?
in Yorkshire, we do.
Now,
Outriders.
as what Justin said,
Is that like boxcar racing?
milk cart. It's
No,
just
it's like the milkman. He drives a little electric.
It looks like a tuk-tuk, but it's longer and it's full of milk.
Is this how you ended up mixed race?
The milkman. The milkman fucked my mom. Right, no. Here's what Justin said, and I found it a very funny answer, and I've made fun of him ever since. Justin said he'd like to get hit at full speed. His vehicle of choice was an ambulance.
Smart. That's smart.
I said, why the fuck would you want to get hit by an ambulance? Do you know how big and fast they're like souped up trucks, you know? They go fast. And he was like, because they got doctors inside. I'm like, all right. Can't argue with the logic, but they'll be picking up limbs at that point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. You know, he was halfway there, you know?
I know what he was thinking.
Yeah,
I know
I get
the
it.
logic behind
trying.
it.
He
It
was
just
trying.
wasn't very good. It just wasn't very smart. You know what I mean?
So you mentioned Rachel mentioned it in the cacophony of our laughter, but like, so chuckle fuckers then, are they a myth, or do you know that some people are like just attracted to funny people? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? People say, you know, like, I'm attracted to somebody who can make me laugh.
No, I've been approached. I know a lot of people who've been approached, but usually it's
Chuckle fucker's a myth. You know,
yeah, it's largely a myth.
There's a comedian, Aziz Ansari, and he has a joke where like, oh, you know, you think you're at the club and you do a comedy show and all these girls are going to come up to you. And he's like, no, what always happens is I don't talk to any of the girls. And then some like random Indian guy comes up to me and says, hey, Aziz, do you want to go play video games at my house? And then he plays video games and eats pizza till like 4 a.m. at some random
that's
guy's
the
house.
most realistic.
That's
Also,
what happens to male comedians.
Also, keep in mind that most people who go to see comedy shows are either in a friendship group
Or
they're
on a date.
together or on a date.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
true.
Or it's like a Chinese woman, I'm sorry to say that, but a Chinese woman who's there because she really, really wants to learn English.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but usually
So
no
it's one
one
of those
goes
three.
to one goes to a comedy show to pick up a comedian. That's a total myth.
But if you want to,
Wow, and
you
that's
can,
no joke.
Nathan. You're welcome to come pick me
Yeah,
up at a
Nathan,
comedy
with
show.
me and you, I'll get you. I'll even
We
get
have a
Donnie.
girlfriend.
I'll even get Donnie involved.
Okay. We could make that another episode. You know.
Sorry to one last point to that though.
Sure.
I might get somebody mad at me for this, but like the worst thing you can do as a comedian, I think, in the comedian group
Is start doing that.
is
stuff,
like
yeah.
bring a different girl to every comedy show, because that's usually what the move is for people who are comics.
yes, let's talk
It's
about
like,
this, yes.
I'm interested in this girl. Hey, I do comedy. Come check it out. And you bring a girl and it doesn't work out, or you try to sleep with her.
You
she
just lost a
rejects
fan.
You,
You
and
just
then-
lost a fan, and all of her friends will never come and see a show.
Well, but then after that, the next week, you bring another girl. You know, the comedians always
Ooh.
know.
Ooh,
It's like,
has there been
oh.
some like heat or backlash or like in the circle of comedians
We've
if
seen
somebody's
it.
No, not really any heat or backlash, but I'd say like any group, people gossip.
Yeah.
You know, people gossip about me. Nobody gossips about Kei because he doesn't do anything. But like,
By not do anything, I mean I don't do anything
he
nefarious.
stays at his home all the time.
I'm
He
a home
doesn't go
dweller.
out. But there's always going to be gossip, and
That's true. I
you know,
think people do like to gossip, and that will happen with Beijing with
Yeah.
any
Everyone
social
loves to
circle.
So it's like
Yeah.
anything you do. If you're a musician and you just bring
Yeah.
a different girl every show, everybody that's at those music shows are going to notice that you're with a different
Yeah.
person.
And
every
we're a
time,
tight-knit group.
right? You know,
We all know each
Oh,
other.
so you guys
Everyone knows each
know
other.
when stuff's going
so
on.
you know, it's like ideally, I've really tried to avoid bringing people out unless it's somebody that I'm like really trying to, you know, pursue, and it's like it's been a while that it feels safe to. But other than that, it's probably like it is a good way to get dates. I'd say if you're like doing it as a hobby.
It's a
But if
good
you're
way to
doing it-
impress people.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it really seriously, like comedy, or I'd say if you're trying to do anything performance thing really seriously, it's probably best to kind of keep it separate.
Yeah. I've only ever met 23 of his dates that I've gone to comedy shows. It's a very small number. I should see how
look
Donnie's
Donnie's
looking at
giving
me.
you.
He's giving me daggers right now. I'm joking, by the way.
It's 24.
22.
So, but it sounds like, you know, because we don't just talk about, you know, the romantic side of relationships,
Yeah.
also, so building friendships and building a community. And that's the one thing, you know, I've been here for nearly 5 years now, and it's always seemed like the comedy scene has got like quite a tight knit group of friends. You know, you see, you know, the comedians there before the show or before the show starts, and they're chatting with each other, and then
Yeah.
afterwards they're having a pint, and you know they're the ones, you know, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but like, you know, I imagine it's like shop. You're talking comedy,
Porn, usually.
Well, usually you're talking about whatever the latest Date Night China
Hardcore
podcast
porn.
was.
That's what we're talking about.
latest
Nice.
Day Night
Yeah.
China. Nice. I like that.
Big
one.
fans.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
an ideal world, where would that microphone be able to be put? You know, what orifice would we enjoy it in?
Yeah.
Most?
Yeah. Just don't sniff that one. That's what I'm gonna say. Just.
Also, I'd like to say, no one can see this, but Donnie is still touching my feet with his feet. He's still doing it.
I mean, you haven't moved them though either.
I can't move my feet anywhere else. What an else! So I can't
you
move
like
my
it.
feet anywhere
That's
else.
a very good point, Rachel.
I think you like it. So, you know.
Where am I supposed to put my foot?
Listen.
That's very good. Just go with it.
You've got
I'm just letting it happen at this point.
Just go with it. Just go with it.
Just do
But
it.
but has it
You know.
being on the scene? You mentioned, you know, being invited back or like making new friends and like video games and pizza and stuff. But has it helped make new friendships or and then meeting people in a place that you wouldn't expect it because you're there to do comedy and then you go away in the night and you're just like, wow, I think I made a new friend tonight. That's how it works?
Yeah, I met Kei my very first like the week before my first open mic. I went to an open mic at TGO or the Great Outdoors, and Kei was there. And Kei hadn't done comedy in
over a year.
Over a year,
almost 2 years,
maybe 2 years. And we were just talking, about like the Patty's comedy scene, and
so that was his first week, and it was my first week returning after 2 years of.
And just the way that set up, and we just kind of hit it off. Like we were exactly like this the way we were there.
Yeah, in a way.
It was exactly the same.
Yeah. If he was a chick, I'd have fucked him. I'm joking. I made a sweet moment really crude.
To be fair, he only talked to me because his chick left. So that's the only reason why we even started talking.
True. That's not true.
So
But yeah, we hit it off quite in that night.
There's a lot of people I would call like really, 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 really great friends that I have now, and some of them have left, unfortunately. Same. Carl, of course. I fucking love Carl. For people who have no idea, Carl is a guy. I love Carl.
Not Carl. You mean Carla?
So, I've made so many great friendships in comedy, and a lot of it I've been so blessed to be able to like tour around the country doing comedy, and I've made friends who like, specifically in Chengdu, there's some comics I do a shout out, Jacob Wanich, Professor Dave, Nico Too Much, you guys are the best in Chengdu Comedy Club. I meet amazing people, do all this, and that's cool. But then also in Beijing, like you meet fucking weird people that end up being super cool. Like I got asked to perform at a private house party, and I went to that, and I performed.
Was it like a fancy Beijing house,
so
like out in the suburbs
fancy.
or something? There's some fancy houses.
I got 2,000 kwai to go do 30 minutes of comedy.
Nice.
And just all these fucking rich people who really
they were fucking.
I'm in
like a Roman orgy with a comedian.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Like a Roman orgy with a comedian.
But it's funny because I go to these places and I'm like, I don't know how to use a fork and knife. I'm sorry.
I don't have to use a fucking knife.
No, I don't. I use scissors to cut my steak.
What? You weirdo. You strange person.
Actually, I'll tell you how I actually eat my steak. I pick up the whole piece and I put it in my mouth and I tear off a chunk
you
with my
madman.
teeth.
Like a
Absolute
caveman.
Kinda.
That's manly.
That's kind of the way. They don't have real knives here. They don't give you steak knives. So
no, they give you chopsticks to eat a steak, and you're like, what the fuck? You just gotta stab it.
I can do it. So, yeah, there's it's a lot of fun meeting people, and then you'll of course have a downside where I've lost friendships or like there's people who like definitely don't like me because of comedy as well.
Well,
not even because of comedy, but probably my personality plus comedy plus like the situation.
A few things added up.
I don't like who I am.
It's a deadly cocktail. Well, okay. Well,
when it comes to performing, though, so can I ask? I know you guys do a lot of shows. You've done so many things in Beijing and touring all over, and both of you have been in the comedy scene now for a while and doing stuff. What is it like, though? Have you ever had nights that have been just like bombing?
Oh yeah, man.
And how do you handle that? And do you feel like your friends or the crowd is a certain way, or are people just usually like, it happens, the
first time you bomb is the worst because it really makes you want to quit.
Is it just like the silence?
It's the silence. It's because every joke you write you think is awesome, right? And you're like, this joke is gonna be dope. People are gonna like it, and then you do it. And it takes a lot to put yourself out there and do this kind of thing.
I think it takes so much, though. You guys,
it's basically just walking out naked. You know,
yes,
like
I think
just
it's
exposed.
so much.
I would rather do that.
Yeah, sometimes I would agree.
And I think most people could not actually get up and do what you guys do, though. And you're standing in front of a crowd, and it's a different crowd, or it could be the same crowd. Sometimes it's a loud bar. It's so many different variables.
And it's not like being in a band where there's multiple people for people to focus on. And
everybody's
there's
looking at you.
Music to distract and stuff like that. It's just you with a microphone make me laugh, you know?
Yeah.
When you bomb, it goes right to the soul. It hurts.
I don't know if you've seen my WeChat moments, but I did a Chinese show on Saturday. So today's Monday. I just did a Chinese show on Saturday, and it was like the worst show I've ever done. In English comedy, very early on, I kept waiting for a day where I just bomb and I'm terrible. And there would be times where I actually felt like that was so bad, but then I would watch everybody after me, and it was like, oh, actually, I wasn't that bad. Like, I can take some solace in like the fact that like, oh, actually, like we would do shows, and we used to do, me and Kei used to do shows at a place called Sinker Pictures.
Right.
And so the English level was always very like, meh. And so I would have shows where like of my 20 punchlines, maybe like 8 hit. And I'd be like, oh my God, that was awful. And then there would be like 3 comics go up where literally
Nothing.
0
Nothing
hit.
Nothing.
And it's like, they'll remember me, you know? So like, that's fine. But I did a Chinese show just this past Saturday where like my first 4 jokes, which always crush. And in Chinese comedy as well, they just always crush.
And you're speaking Chinese, yeah.
I'm speaking
all
Chinese.
okay.
And
He does both.
this audience just stared at me, and it was like the audience was not normal. So Chinese comedy, English comedy shows, we keep it, 18 plus. They're in bars. We have, people who are there for comedy.
Yeah.
Chinese comedy shows are not the same. The audience, you've got kids, you've got grandparents, you have
What?
They want Teletubby humor.
They don't drink. There's no bar. It's just like a theater, and you just go perform, and it's mostly like puns and stuff, or like these stories that kind of work off like a lot of play on words. And so I do some of my jokes, which my humor is kind of dark, especially in Chinese comedy, and it's just all silence. And it like the feeling 2 years into this where I don't want to like be like so promoting of myself and being like I'm so amazing or whatever, but I've had so much success in 2 years that I am so appreciative and humbled by. But like, so I know I have a lot of confidence, and I have a lot of security of like my talent in stand-up comedy.
And it's like the feeling of the law of averages. You're like, this many audiences have responded this way that I know.
Right.
This one bad
This
experience
is
is not true.
They're the weird ones here, not me.
So I do the Chinese show though on Saturday, and the feeling exactly what he said. There was silence for like almost all of it, and then oh my God, I have to sneeze. I've never had to sneeze on podcasts. I don't know what to do if I sneeze.
Don't do it in my face, please.
So I felt as soon as the show ended, I went and I sulked for like 2.5 hours in like this corner. And like
he was texting me afterwards.
I was texting him.
I had to be the
We
shoulder.
were supposed to go to a Halloween party, and I'm like, I don't want to go. And he got quarantined, and I was like, thank fucking God.
Yeah,
because
like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. They didn't laugh at me.
It was awful.
They were mean to me.
It is a feeling where you sit back and you just go, I'm not good at this. I want to quit because if you succeed, you get
hurts,
instant gratification.
There's
nothing else.
And you feel
There's
it.
nothing else like it. You could be a band and play, and the audience not give a fuck, but you don't feel like, oh, we were shit. Because
No. The feeling is that imagine if you're a band playing, you just finish this kick-ass song, and bam, the music stops, and everyone just there's nothing, and everyone's just staring at you like.
But I think that's fine. I think if you're in a band,
It's
I think
just
that's
awkward.
fine because it's just like, what are they supposed to do? You're not fucking like.
But with comedy, imagine that
top of the
silence,
rope.
but drag it on for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oof.
And so it was
Yeah.
awful. And I was just like, I'm never going to do Chinese comedy again. And afterwards, of course, they're like, oh my God, the audience loved you. That's the best part. The best part is when like you watch an audience member, and as a comedian, you do look out. And it happens all the time where you look out and there's like an audience member who doesn't laugh at any jokes.
Yeah.
They don't laugh at a single one. And
We
after
see
the
them.
show, they
There's
come up
always
to you
one.
and they're like, you were my favorite comic tonight.
You're like, homie, why didn't you laugh?
Do you think it's just like an expression thing that they're like?
Well, we tell people don't
seek
just
us
smile at a
out. They
joke,
seek
like
us
express
out.
your
Yeah.
laughter.
It's a culture thing. It's a culture thing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I guess like maybe they're like that's so funny, but they're not like a loud laugher.
yeah.
But it's hard for you guys because then you're like,
we
wait,
don't get any feedback
You
from
don't
that.
actually you can't gauge what they're actually feeling.
Yeah. We have to. It's part of it is like that's why we keep the lights off. We keep the lights off for over audience because people feel like a lot of the darker jokes, or if a dark joke's like too sexual or whatever, audience, if they feel like they can be seen, they won't laugh. You turn the lights off, and people what they find funny changes.
Yeah, we
Like,
give
it's
them
like-
anonymity in their laughter.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting though. They're like they don't want everybody to see what they think is funny.
Yeah,
Right.
so we pitch them in darkness, and it's basically their.
And then they just feel comfortable to just let themselves go.
Yeah, they're in their own pod basically, and they can laugh at whatever they find funny without any judgment from anyone else.
It's kind of what makes Patty's like which Patty's is a really special place for us. We've been doing. Kei started the Patty's
started
open
the
mic
Patty's
years ago. So that was him, and they've been great to us. But one of the things that makes it really difficult is like all the lights are on, you've got TVs on around the room. People aren't really there for comedy, but you do like a dark joke, and people are just kind of like look around like this is awkward.
They sink into their beers.
Where you would think Patty's is the place for it, but
No,
it's really not. When people feel shy if they were laughing at stuff. So much of comedy is saying stuff you're not supposed to say. So much of the audience is laughing at stuff they're not supposed to laugh at. But that's what we need.
This is why comedians should never blame a crowd for being not accepting of their jokes, because every crowd is different. You don't know what people have experienced. You don't know what people's sense of humor is. Sometimes people aren't even there if it's an open mic, especially at Paddy O'Shea's. Some people aren't even there for comedy. They're there to hang out with their friends, and all of a sudden we show up and we're like, hey, listen to our comedy. By the way, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
Immediately
That
they're
must be
like,
hard.
okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep talking to my friends. Or, if they come from a culture that we're doing a joke that, doesn't really gel with that culture, it's a bad idea as a comedian to blame the crowd.
It's an awful idea. If the crowd doesn't laugh,
Bad
it's
idea.
usually your fault.
Yeah, but sometimes, but usually it's also not your fault. It's just bad meeting wrong. That's all.
Yeah.
It depends what you want out of comedy.
I understand that.
A lot of people do it. This is really quick point. A lot of people do comedy because they just want something fun to do where they can just kind of like
It's a good
rant
hobby.
about shit.
It's a good hobby
Right.
if you want to just rant, but it has to be. You have to make a joke.
But if you want to be successful, like so much about being successful is knowing how to work an audience and knowing what kind of audience is in front of you.
100%.
Like me and Kei, we can tell the same joke, but like we can change it for like if it's an English problem, if it's like all Chinese audience and the English is meh, we can tell the same joke and we just kind of simplify it a little bit or add in a little bit extra exposition to explain something.
Yeah.
If it's like a really cold audience, it's like, oh well, we know, all right, the dark jokes aren't working. We can make
just go
those
straight
jokes
to
a
the
little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we
A
can
little bit
change
cheesier.
some of the jokes, but we can also like lighten up some of the darker jokes as well. Like,
Yeah.
When your goal is to be successful, you absolutely have to be like
You need
wary of what
adaptability.
that audience.
It's like being
100%.
flexible and being smart
Yeah.
to read the audience
Yes.
quickly. Like, okay, what's gonna work here?
I
What's
tell
gonna
new
be-
comedians all the time, don't read off a script. That's what I did when I started, and it didn't work half of the time.
It doesn't work any of the time. Reading off a script is just a bad idea.
There's no flexibility. If the room isn't feeling you at this moment, you need to, you need to bend a little bit. But if you're off a script, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I learned that. That's one of the reasons I quit, because I just wasn't having any joy in comedy, and at the time my band had started up and we were doing pretty good. We had an album coming out, so I was like, I'm just gonna focus on music. For comedy, it's
Lots of
not fun.
groupies. This guy.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the.
No chuckle fuckers, but groupies.
For the groupies.
But
Excellent. Well, you talked about some. If your aim is to be successful, now you two have got an exciting project. We've been speaking
Yes, we
for nearly an hour. We're nearly at the end of the show, guys. It's flown by. It's absolutely flown by.
man.
But you were talking about success, and you've
There's
got a
still-
very exciting project that
Yes.
you want to talk about. So we'd love to hear it. So
Yeah.
what is on the horizon for you two?
Yeah, I guess I should probably take
Yeah,
this one.
this is all him. He's the producer of this.
So we've got a Journey to the East, play on Journey to the West, of course. We're doing this comedy special for a major streaming platform in North America, where they're going to take 6 English-speaking comics here, and we're gonna film the shows. And we are filming at like the highest level quality that we can get.
Yeah, we have a full film crew and editing crew, and
We have everything. Everything is like to the highest level of professionalism that we can get, and we're doing it at a theater down in Dongjimen. And it was supposed to be next weekend, but it's been moved to November 19th and 20th. And what we were actually doing with it, we were crowdfunding these shows, which are supposed to kind of really focus in on like the kind of mixed culture, the Chinese Western Chinese culture. So we've got like these just amazing comedians who are doing it from Beijing and Shanghai. And so we were actually crowdfunding the show to make sure that we could get this all paid for, because we are not being paid for it. We are only being offered a chance to platform and distribute with this streaming platform, which some people are like, why would you ever accept that? But no, doing English stand-up comedy in China means that you don't really have a future anywhere.
It's not
else.
fruitful.
If you go back to the States, if I go back to New York City and I'm like, hey, I headline hour-long shows, and I've performed in 25 cities, like in this country, and I've performed in Thailand and Singapore. If I haven't, but if I have, and I go back to New York City, I'm begging to do 5 minutes on an open mic somewhere, because it all comes down to like credibility. Like, what are your credentials?
Yeah.
What have you actually done? Where can people see you? How can we market you? And so the opportunity to be put out on a platform and be distributed and marketed with like real backing, with real financial backing, is unheard of for people here in this. I guess I should say, in this country. So it's an amazing thing, and our goal was 125,000 renminbi. We have nearly hit that. Thanks to amazing support. I'm sure some of the people who have donated are listening to this. Thank you guys so much. It means the world to me. It means the world to Kei and everybody else that's a part of it. But we are now at the point where we are actually able to give out passes for the show. We have a couple sponsors who put in quite a bit of money. We've got Cheers, who is sponsoring the alcohol that we're selling for the day. We have Patty O'Shea's, who does our open mic. They are sponsoring us.
Yep.
And then we have 2 private backers right now. And so they have donated a large portion of tickets. We've got a pretty good amount of free passes that they've paid for that we can give out. So if anybody that's listening to this wants a free pass, I guess we'll find a way for them to contact us. But we have free passes. We only ask that you get a couple of pre-order a couple of drinks for the show, but otherwise we are super excited about it.
Wow, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
That's
congratulations,
really
you guys.
It's going to be really fun.
That's so exciting.
I feel like I downplayed it a little bit. I feel like I said that really sadly. It's just me.
The whole tone.
I'm not a good hype man. I got like serious.
You should have gave me the script and I'd have made it seem really exciting.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do a fucking show. We got supporters and stuff. 100,000 kwai.
It's no, I mean,
Gonna
like,
be great.
crowdfunding. I mean, it's so commonplace now. You know, you see, I've got a lot of friends that are independent filmmakers, and you know, they've got the Kickstarter or the Indiegogo campaigns, and some of them are successful, but most of them are not. And you know, it's a very hard thing to do to get that to get that endorsement from people, and for them to give you your money on an endeavor that is not really related to them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But you guys have done it. That's an incredible achievement.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I probably shouldn't say this.
What?
I've done it.
I did it.
They haven't crowdfunded shit.
They didn't do nothing, motherfucker. We did it.
Wow.
I did it.
It's your number in the bathroom stall, isn't it? That's how you've been getting. That's how you've been getting the money.
It's been. I feel like what we do with comedy specifically. And I feel like a lot of things that I do in my life that have made me really successful is I just do stuff people tell me isn't going to work. If I go, like the very first person I asked to donate towards this, we went out to dinner and this person was just like, hey, you know, I hear you, but like, that's a lot of money and nobody's going to really give you any money for this. And I was like respectful, you know, to the conversation that we had and stuff. And it's fine. The person is a very nice person. I don't want to like make it seem like they're an awful person. But when I heard nobody's gonna help you with this, I just turned around and I'm like, dude, you have no fucking idea. And you know, a month and a half later, we have over 100,000 kwai. And it's like, you know, what we give in comedy, what we have offered to people. There's so many people who come up to me after comedy shows and they say, hey, Donnie, this was like one of the best nights of my life. Or they say, and that sounds silly.
He's crying now, by the way.
It sounds silly. But in comedy, because what we do, our shows exist in a vacuum. So what happens, every single person comes with something when they sit in the audience. They have either something that they're dealing with that day or that week. And so many people come to a comedy show because they're like, I just need to fucking sit down and have a night where I don't stress.
Yeah, that's what we give them.
And those people come, they leave, and they're like, oh my God, this was like amazing. Like some people, they just got out of a breakup. Some people are on like their first date and they end up marrying those people. Like not at our shows yet, but like that has happened. That happens all the time.
Yeah, we give people 2 hours to forget about their life.
Some people have their birthdays. This one guy, we once had a show where a whole rugby team came.
Oh, yeah.
Like a team of like 15 people from rugby. It was some guy's birthday. And they got wasted. They were loaded. The entire show was about them. And it was hilarious. But like those people left that show being like, that was like one of the funniest fucking birthdays I've ever had. And it's like, so we offer these experiences to people that they carry for the rest of their life. No matter, like, you might say, oh, it's just Beijing comedy, you're nobody famous for it. It doesn't matter. They experience that in that moment and it means something.
We're basically humor prostitutes.
So I feel like
That we provide a service that people need at the time.
when I
Yeah.
went,
We
when I,
let them forget about their life, and we make them laugh for an hour or two, and then they continue about their life.
when I
We
went,
are human prostitutes. That's exactly what you just described, by the way. You may-
when I went to people and I said, hey, we have this opportunity to do something that is just, as I said, totally unheard of, the response was overwhelmingly positive and successful. And like, if anybody's listening, really, it means so much to me. It's,
And the
it's
people that
life-changing.
didn't, go fuck yourself.
Basically. No.
Hey, man, if you don't like what we doing,
People,
go
peop-
fuck yourself, motherfucker. Get out of here.
people
Damn.
who didn't, everybody has their reasons, and I don't want to check anybody's wallet. I don't want to open anybody's bank account and say like what you have, what you don't have. It's totally fine. It's like if it's not for you, it's not
Sure,
for you.
sure.
So like there's plenty of people who come to our shows who come to like just free. We need the people to go to our free shows too, right? So we appreciate everybody. And it's just, this is a little bit of a different level. And it's the culmination of like a lot of hard work people have put in here that they're finally going to be able to get recognition that they would have never gotten otherwise.
Yeah. Also, remember, buy my book, We Angry Few,
He was going to respond to
on
that.
Amazon.
You just fucking respond.
I did it on purpose. I'm sorry, I was going to say something.
What an asshole.
You did this really dark. Like,
No, I
deep.
think it's it's a
Was that
wonderful.
dark? It was authentic.
No,
It was authentic.
I
was
think it's really
authentic.
touching.
Fucking
Touching.
depressing, though.
I think the pandemic's
yeah.
been hard though for people, honestly.
Oh, the pandemic.
And something that we've talked about the past few years is people are looking for community. They're looking for place besides dating and relationships, which we talk about a lot. But of course, like at the root of it, you're looking for connections as humans.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people recognize like you guys are creating a community for people
Yeah.
and something that weekly they can rely on. I can show up here or I can go here. You go do lots of different shows. It's a community in Beijing and in all over China as well that you're providing that
Yeah,
people can
exactly.
go and rely on, whether it's for a date with their friends or even by themselves. If they show
Yeah.
up, like I can go and I can sit in the room and not feel alone. You
We
know?
al- yeah,
My-
we always say a comedy show is a great opportunity to bring a date.
Yeah.
Our comedy community is much more reliable than my father's relationship with me was. So that's,
See?
You set yourself.
This is
yeah,
why
you
I
did that.
interject.
You did that. You did that.
That's why I interject.
I see you love the dark humor.
I think
I know
I-
you're
That
coming.
wasn't humor. He was
funny.
being serious.
I've never met my father, but if you want to meet me, I'm
See?
available 3 nights a week.
My goodness.
Human prostitution thing. But we're so happy you guys came along tonight.
Yeah, we're
though.
happy to be here. Thank
We're
you very
not
much for
leaving when
having
this
us.
ends.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna keep drinking.
Oh, we've
There's
got
another
more
bottle.
wine. We've
Yeah,
got
we've
more
got
wine.
another
Sorry,
bottle.
dear listeners. We're going to say goodbye to you now, though. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Date Night China.
Ooh, and to learn more about Donnie and Kei's comedic adventures, when we publish the article, we'll have the relevant links and how you can watch the show if you've not been to comedy in Beijing or you've not seen them yet.
Yeah. And are you guys on any online platforms you want to share about?
I have a website, keigambit.com. You can find me on Instagram at just type in my name, Kei Gambit. And I'm on Amazon. Buy my book, please.
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't happen to have a book out, do you? You
No,
just look like
I
a
might
guy
have a
that
book.
might have a book out.
I might have a book and a couple of comic books that you might want to read. But yeah.
So on all platforms, I am Donnie Fan Comedy. And I actually have a really cool series that's out right now. I don't know if either of you guys have seen it. It's called 8-Bit Comedy.
I have seen it.
It's very
Oh
good.
yeah, Nathan.
I'm
Nathan
a bit
did.
of I'm a fan of
very
you both
good.
because I've seen the series and I've read your comic.
Yeah.
So one of the comics. So yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. It's so
Yeah.
creative. The 8-bit comedy. It's very, very good. The style is just it's a lot of fun.
I have a lot of Final Fantasy tattoos, and my goal was how can I make stand-up comedy look like it's in Final Fantasy, and so
did it.
that's what 8-Bit Comedy is. You can find that on my WeChat channels, Donnie Fan Comedy. All platforms are Donnie Fan Comedy, and I also have a website, DonnieFan.com. Both my website and Kei's website were both made by my friend Sean Redman.
Yeah, shout out to Sean.
You can see SeanRed.io if you like our website and you're looking for somebody to make one. Date Night China needs a new website. My buddy, he'll do it for a good price. Right, Sean? Right? Sean?
Heyo.
He'll listen to this. So Donnie Fan Comedy and everything, and Kei Gambit, everything for him.
Kei Gambit.
Kei Gambit.
Just butchered my name like that.
Kei Gambit, everything. And
I thought we were friends.
The nude modeling is on an Instagram somewhere, but I'm not gonna tell you guys that name. So that's that. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you
Excellent.
guys for listening this week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.